Your Honor, members of the jury, I am Rick Yang, and I stand before you today to not just defend Patricia Hearst, but to take exception to the story you've heard. The prosecution will try to convince you that this case is simple, merely that Hearst was just another criminal making a rational choice. But that cannot be further from the reality. On the night of February 4th, 1949, Patricia Hearst was taken from her home by gunpoint by members of the Symbionese Liberation Army. She was blindfolded, confined into a small space, absolutely deprived of basic necessities, and threatened repeatedly. The evidence will show that she spent weeks in isolation, unsure of whether she would survive. During this time, her captors used the methods of coercive control, both physical and psychological, to force her compliance. You'll hear about the testimony from Mrs. Hearst's fiancé, her parents. They'll describe how she was before her abduction, an engaged young woman pursuing her education and planning her future. They'll explain the dramatic change they witnessed in her when they saw her again, describing how she appeared withdrawn, fearful, and deeply affected by her captivity. You'll also hear from the experts in psychology and neuroscience who will explain how long-term trauma and coercion can harshly impact brain function. These experts will testify that prolonged isolation, repeated threats, and exposure to psychological conditioning can significantly impair independent decision-making. They'll explain how trauma responses, including survival instincts, can lead individuals to act in ways that may not align with their normal behavior. These testimonies will give insight into coercive control and how it affects behavior. Law enforcement officials involved in the investigation, such as FBI Charles Bates, will provide details about Miss Hearst's abduction and the condition in which she was held. Their testimony will offer further context regarding the environment that she was forced to endure. You'll hear about the strategies used by her captors to break down her resistance, a process. The evidence will show that Miss Hearst's actions were only a result of extreme duress, a concept absolutely recognized by law. The evidence will show that Miss Hearst's action occupied under extreme external pressure. Testimonies will demonstrate how coercion can override personal agency, influencing behaviors in ways that are absolutely not reflective of free will. Throughout this trial, we'll present witness accounts, expert analysis, and investigative findings that paint a full picture of the conditions that Miss Hearst experienced. We ask that you listen carefully to the testimony, consider the scientific evidence, and examine the circumstances surrounding her actions. At the conclusion of this trial, the evidence will show that Patricia Hearst was not acting as a willing participant, but rather someone responding to extreme circumstances absolutely beyond her control. Thank you.